video. Today's a little bit different. I'm going to go over the fleet. I'm going to talk about all the horns that I have, all the horns that I'm selling. I'm going to go in a ascending order of size. I'm going to talk about how much I like it, how much I use it, the mouthpiece I use with it, kind of the grade it's getting at the moment, and whether it will stay in the collection forever. And then I'm probably going to talk about the horns that I have for sale at the end. I don't know if you're interested about that. Anyway, here we go. This is first one on the list, my smallest instrument. This is an Alora pocket trumpet. It's just a Chinese horn. I like it. Do I play it? No, because it's trumpet and I don't play trumpet. It's fun to have around though. I use a Bach 3C on it. I think it's a pretty good one. And I will never get rid of this because it was a present for Christmas like 10 years ago from my wife. And I'm never going to get rid of it because it's just such a little cutie. And it has this tiny little case as well. Actually kind of a nice case. And there's kind of no reason to get rid of it. Not worth that much and it takes up no space. So that's number one on the list. Next one up is another trumpet, though slightly longer than my pocket trumpet. This is my B-flat bass trumpet by Lidl, L-I-D-L, made in Czech Republic, probably, I don't know, 20, 15 years ago, something like that. Got it from Germany for a pretty cheap price this year, actually, and I really enjoy it. It's in great shape. The case is in great shape. It's nice and small. It's really fun to just kind of like pick up at my computer and just honk on. Doesn't take a lot of effort out of me to do that. It's not the most open instrument on the planet, but all the notes seem to be there, and as long as I kind of adjust, it kind of works. I play this right now. I can't really decide, but right now I play with a Bach 7C, but this is a New York 7C. It's a really, really magic one. It's a little small for my face, but gets the job done, at least for now. And I would give this a solid, like, B, because it's not the best instrument on the planet, but it sure does get the job done. The only problem I have is with the valves being just a little slow. Might get it worked on at some point. But yeah, that's bass trumpet. On to the next one. Up next, size-wise, is my Magic Bach LT16M, my Bill Watrous model. One of my best trombones by far. I'd say top three of all the horns that I've probably ever owned, honestly. And it never gets used. It has left the case probably twice in the last year. I actually did use it for a actual real life gig, which was cool, but I was just subbing for somebody in a rehearsal, so it doesn't really count. I used it on Brahms 3 principal trombone, usually played on alto, of course. This makes a great alto substitute, just makes this beautiful, warm, smaller sound. It sounded so good. I knew it would, and that's the only time I've ever used it. So, just based on that alone, it probably gets knocked down a letter grade, but I don't really care. I'd say this probably gets a solid A. It's one of the best trombones I have. It plays very easily. It plays evenly as well across all ranges. It sounds really good. It's got an amazing slide, even though it has nothing on it at the moment. I usually use a Bach 4C with this. I don't think it's the perfect mouthpiece. I think it matches the horn pretty well, but doesn't match me very well. So I might go try and use my Doug Elliott stuff in the future. But again, I never play it. It doesn't leave the case. Despite that, though, I'm not going to sell it. It's not worth that much money. And honestly, I'm not going to get anything that much better than this for the money that I would get selling it. And it's just magic. Even if I found something way better, like the Edwards 500 bore jazz tenor that I had previously, that's a really amazing horn, but it doesn't sound like this. So I'm okay keeping it. On to the next instrument. Up next in size, though just slightly, is my King 3BF. same size slide, but back here, this is a little bit larger than the Bach. This is probably one of my best trombones. LT16 is great. It's magic. I don't think this is magic, but this makes me a lot of money, and it plays so easily and costs me almost nothing. I mean, it's like the perfect combination of factors. Plus, it kind of doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look offensive, doesn't look amazing, so it just kind of doesn't get attention, which is perfect. This came to me as the cheapest 3BF I've ever bought. It was in not great shape. The slide was totally borked, and now it's got one of my better slides. There's nothing on this right now. It feels actually pretty good. It does have a bent rotor knuckle, so the bell is a little sad, and it's very close to the bell. I've noticed when I played that, I hit my finger on it just slightly. I don't want to get it fixed because I'm worried it's going to change how it plays. This horn plays so well that I'm like worried about getting it fixed, which is kind of weird for an instrument like this. Valve works. It plays very evenly. It has such a warm, like beautiful sound for what it is, a 3BF. I've had several of these, as you well know, and this by far was the best one I've ever owned. Not the best looking, not in the best condition, but the best playing and the best sounding. So this is the one that has stuck around. I use, and this is probably the best part, my Doug Elliott mouthpiece, C+ cup, and a D3 shank. And yes, those do match. The plus cups work with the next size up shank. And this combination of this mouthpiece and this instrument is basically perfect. I don't think I could find another setup that would match so well. This matches so well, it makes the horn so easy to play, that it's actually made me change some of my other setups to make them better, to match this more, because this is so even. So I can just like get it out of the case and play instead of having to like figure things out and remember how it works. It just works all the time. If you can, find a good 3BF and never sell it, because it's probably going to be one of the best trombones that you own. On to the next one. On to the next one. I almost said, hey YouTube, but no, this is not the beginning of the video. This is my King 608F. Very similar to the 3B, of course, except for the larger 525 slide. A couple other little differences like the bell brace. I've had this for a while, and with the stock lead pipe, it just did not play very well. Used it a few times and I was like, what is going on? Turns out, the stock lead pipe is tiny, like the smallest of almost any instrument I own. And so I had the receiver replaced with a screw fit lead pipe collar that I can't get out right now, and it's got an Edwards 1 525 lead pipe in it, and it is so good now. It plays so well. It sounds really good. It's kind of got the 3B sound, but just a little bit fatter, a little more of this in the sound. Not quite 547 sound, but a lot closer than it used to be. And I can't play it because it's too long. This little bit of extra length right here puts the horn out of tune. It was already pretty close. I tuned about there with the original lead pipe, and this added more than that in length. So I can't play it until I get it chopped, which I should be able to do here in a couple days. Obviously, some room for this tuning slide to come in. We got some really long tubes here, so it's just going to get slicey diced, and hopefully I'll be able to use it in the future for real things. I can't take it out of the house because I can't play it with people. This horn is really good though. I call it a solid, after the mods, a solid B+, and hopefully with a slicey dicey tuning slide mod, it'll be up to an A. I use a Doug Elliott N104, same rim as my other piece, XTE cup with an E4 shank. Awesome mouthpieces, kind of like a 5GS 6.5 AL size, but obviously a much larger rim that I can actually play. And it makes this horn just almost as perfect a match as my 3BF. It's so good, but I haven't used it, so I can't really give it a grade. On to the next one. next and strangest up is my Chinese EF Durand 555 straight bass thing. I still haven't found a name for this because it just isn't anything. I got this for 50 bucks a while back, and it has sat in the case most of the time, but every once in a while I get it out when I have friends over and we play and we go, what is this instrument? It's very strange and kind of stupid, but also kind of cool. So like I said, it's 555, which is kind of halfway between large tenor and bass. It's got a very wide slide. It might be wider than Shire's, Edwards, Bach, etc. It's got actual oversleeves and actual brass slide. Again, uncommon. Straight here. There's no valves. Just want to point that out again. Very wide span tuning slide, almost as wide as a normal bass. And then kind of a small throat here like a tenor would be. And then, whoa, a bass flare. I just can't imagine why this exists, what it's copied from. Nothing about it makes sense. But it clearly, having played it and having friends play it, is a bass trombone. It really plays badly as a tenor with a tenor mouthpiece. This is a bass mouthpiece. And just is such a strange instrument. I don't feel the need to keep this forever, but also I don't want to just give it to someone and have them never play it either. I want it to get played, I want it to get used or modified or something like that. So for now, I keep it and it sits and nobody plays it. But at least I know where it is. And yeah, I'm going to give it a solid like C because it just doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's a see me after class grade because it just, why does this exist? Anyway, on to the next one. Up next is slightly smaller than a bass trombone. These are 562, I think, but you know, it's only got 3 valves, whatever. This is next. This is my Yamaha YBH 301 MS. S is for silver plate, of course, even though this one does not look good right now. This is Yamaha marching baritone. I keep it because I marched one just like this for 4 years in DCI back in the day, more than 10 years ago at this point, and I just can't bring myself to get rid of it. I do use it every once in a while to teach marching band, and in that case it actually is very handy. It doesn't take up a lot of space. I know exactly how it works. I can make pretty great noises on it. For marching baritones, these are pretty much the best thing out there. Nice and easy to play. They're nice and open. You can play them loud. You can play them soft. You can make a beautiful sound. You can play them like Santa Clara Vanguard. Those are opposite things. Anyways, they're great. They just have really, really long travel valves. They've got some intonation quirks. Anybody who's played one knows. C above the staff, super flat, for instance. All that kind of stuff. I even have the mouthpiece that I use for 2 of the 4 years that I marched. And it's a perfect match. Yeah, Hammond 12L, of course, is the thing to use. And this is not going to go anywhere because it's a major nostalgia piece for me. And they're just not worth that much money. They're like 800 bucks used. And this one is definitely used. So no reason for me to get rid of it. Just not worth the money to lose that nostalgia value and being able to teach marching band with it. So on to the next stuff. Up next is my Yamaha, also a Yamaha, YBL, yes, YBL 613. That's it, no extra letters. Bought this to use at work, and it is pretty much perfect. It's not exactly perfect. I would give it an A-, and I know I have not been giving grades to everything, but I give grades to things I care about, okay? I'd give it an A-. It is very light. It's easy to play. The slide is light. The valves work. Ergonomics are good enough. Not perfect. Hey, cat. What else about it? The valves are nice and open. The high range takes a little more effort than my other instrument does. And it's not perfect in every scenario. It's a very good bass trombone, but when I A-beat it with my monster bass on some orchestral rep, I was kind of playing it on my monster bass and I was like, you know, this does take a lot of work and like it's a very large sound. Do I need that for this? I got this out and wow, yes, the monster bass was the right choice. I should not use this for that kind of playing, at least the way that I play. Otherwise, though, it's great. It plays loud really well. I can also back off. I can blend with tenors. I can blend with a tuba. Just a really good instrument. If you find one of these cheap, I do recommend it. And I play it with my Marquee 87. I think it might play a little bit better with the 85, but I don't really care because I use the 87 for everything. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I really enjoy this. It's not perfect, but it is good enough by far. On to the next instrument. Up next is my monster bass trombone. I've talked a lot about this, so I'm not going to go into huge detail, but I have 3 different slides, potentially 4. I have a 50 slide getting worked on. A Olsen axial valve set that I had made just for me. Hoelle, Hoelle tuning slide in seamed copper. It is reversed. I have 2 different bells. I have this one and one that is cut. And it's a monster bass trombone. It's awesome, and it's not quite perfect at the moment. I've been playing this with my Shire slide with my 2 lead pipe for kind of a long time. Dual bore slide with the just 2 lead pipe. And I love the sound, and mostly I love the response. But I just used it for a really fun gig, actually. And it ended up fine. I played pretty gosh darn well for the circumstances. But it could have been a lot better. And actually my 3BF is what made me decide to change this up a little bit. I can really put in a lot of time and make this horn work, but I'd rather not have to do that. I'd like to be able to just pick it up and play it like I can do with most of my other very good instruments. This one's a little too picky. So right now I have my Edwards dual bore slide, no oversleeves. I don't usually use this one. It does work and sound pretty good. It's not quite perfect. I'm just using it for the moment because I have a different lead pipe coming for my Shire slide. I'm going to try my other slides. I'm going to kind of change everything instead of just using what I have been using, because that's not the right thing. And because of that wrong setup-ness about it, I'm going to give it a B. Yeah, it's not going to get a perfect grade. It is such a good instrument, but it needs to be dialed in, and I need to spend the time to dial it in. All right, on to the next one. Up next, because this is 571 bore, I think, is my Yamaha 842S Euphonium, YEP 842S, of course, with the silver plate, the gold accents, all the fancy stuff. My longest owned instrument. And of course, because it's my longest owned, it's not going to go anywhere. This is a very good euphonium, and if I sold it, I'm not going to get anything like massively better, so it sticks around. It's not perfect. I do have some qualms about it. Going from the B flat side to the F side in the staff. So, and obviously I'm moving my valve slowly right now, so that's not the problem. But when I do it quickly, a lot of times I get a nice burr in the sound, and the C or the B natural just don't respond or sound very good. I don't know. There's something about that just doesn't really work. There's a couple intonation quirks. High E flat is quite sharp. And of course, there's no tuning slide trigger on this like there are on the new ones. So I have to play that 1 and 3 if I really want it to be in tune, but it sounds different. It's just those little euphonium things that tend to really annoy me, having played trombone so much, where I can just play in tune. I don't have to worry about using alternate fingerings and sounding bad, or like trying to move slides or whatever. Otherwise, though, it's a nice open instrument. The low range is very accessible. The high range is accessible, even though it takes a lot of effort, a lot of like air and focus to get up there consistently. High B flat especially just really takes it out of me unless I played exactly right. And then pedal B flat itself, just by itself, pedal B flat is a weirdly open note. It's actually very easy to miss. I'm saying a lot of bad things about it, but it does make a nice, big, chunky euphonium sound. I can play over a wind ensemble or an orchestra with it. And most of the times now, the valves actually work, which was my big problem for a very long time. And I use this with my Dennis Wick SM3UX. Does it say on here? SM3X. I do not have the U model. And quite like this mouthpiece. It is pretty aggressive on the face. The rim is quite sharp. So if you use any pressure like I used to do, it destroys you. But if you play it pretty well and kind of back off, use your air, get some chop in there, it works pretty well. Yeah, like this horn, I'd give it a solid B. It's never been amazing, but also it's not anything less than very, very, very good. So, solid B. On to the next instrument. Of course, last up in my working instruments that are part of the fleet is the best one, my Lech F Contra in German tuning. Not a lot about this that I haven't said already in a bunch of previous videos. It's amazing. I don't play it very much. And I just got a new rim for my mouthpiece. So I have this Greg Black Contrabass medium weight, which doesn't mean a lot with the Contrabass mouthpiece because there's so much stuff missing from the cup. But it's been threaded for Doug Elliott rims a long time ago. And I had been using my Lexan 122 rim. It's a great rim, but man, that is a really, really large rim. So I got a regular width CB 118 rim in brass. I wanted it in brass because I'm not going to play this outside, and the brass adds a lot of mass to this mouthpiece. With the plastic rim on here, this is my lightest mouthpiece of any mouthpiece that I own. And with the Contra, yeah, you don't really want the lightest possible mouthpiece. So added a little bit to this. It's a smaller rim. It's easier to play. I have more endurance. The low range did not suffer. The high range just got easier, so very happy about that. This gets an A- because it's very cool, it's very good, but it's not useful and it costs a lot of money, so it's not going to get a perfect grade. Love this horn. I will have more content about it in the future. I might take the valves apart and we might check those out on the inside. But that's the end of the main instruments that I own. I think I'm going to make another video coming up soon. We're going to talk about all the instruments I'm selling and all of my projects. Until then, that's the end of my fleet review for 2022, at least up until this point. And I'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.